Charlton Personal Training provides bespoke fitness training and sports massage solutions within the South Manchester area, and we're bringing to you a tutorial series on training methods for building muscle and size. And the first tutorial within this series is on muscle building mechanisms. Now, there's three key mechanisms underpinning muscle growth that you should be aware of. The first is mechanical tension, the second is metabolic stress, and the third is muscle damage. If we take a look at this first mechanism underpinning muscle growth, you should be aware that in order to subject the muscle group that you're training to a high level of mechanical tension, you need to be using heavy loads. And if we are training heavy, then we're not going to be able to perform a large amount of volume. In other words, you're not going to be able to perform very many repetitions per set when you're lifting a heavy weight. And you're also going to require a long recovery period in between each set. And this is perhaps a little bit problematic because this goes against what is required for the second mechanism underpinning muscle growth. The second mechanism is metabolic stress, and in order to subject the body to a high level of metabolic stress, we require more volume and we require shorter recoveries in order to make the body work harder. And of course, that's going to necessitate the use of lighter weights. So the first two mechanisms underpinning muscle growth are somewhat at odds with each other, which means we need to reach some kind of compromise in order to attain that muscle building sweet spot. And the compromise probably lies between 6 and 12 reps per set, assuming that you're taking your sets to failure. So that means if you're able to perform more than 13 reps for a given set, then the weight you're using is probably a little bit too light. Similarly, if you're unable to perform as many as 6 reps per set, then you probably need to use a slightly heavier weight. And we must also take into account the third mechanism underpinning muscle growth, that is muscle damage. Now, the greatest amount of muscle damage occurs during the eccentric or lowering portion of a weightlifting movement. And so in order to maximize the stress during that part of the movement, we should also perform very slow lowering portions of every exercise whilst adhering to this regime. Now, of course, we're going to want to deviate from this from time to time. We may be looking to add variation to our program where we emphasize certain mechanisms over and above others. That's okay, but the majority of our training time should probably resemble this particular training template of 6 to 12 reps per set, assuming you're taking those reps to failure with slow eccentrics being performed as well.